Tell you what, man. I usually do an intro to these videos, but this video is not gonna have any structure whatsoever. Um, it's just gonna be strictly a reaction as to that atrocity we're subjected to last night. Eagles lose 22-21 in our season home opener in probably the worst fashion we could have lost that game. That game was a complete summary of what last year was, minus Hassan Reddick. And I'll tell you what, man, I bet we all want Hassan Reddick back now. If you didn't want him back before, I bet you want him back now. Because that's exactly how I feel. Last week, or throughout this past week, was so sure, because of how awful the field conditions were in Brazil. I was so sure that at least one person on that front would be able to get home to the quarterback to a somewhat of a consistent rate. You got Kirk Cousins for until the third, fourth quarter. This dude's jersey is as clean as can be. No type of pressure the whole game. Bryce Huff is non-existent. He's a waste of money, and I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. If you can't come back from a game like this, if you can't come back in New Orleans and have some type of fire, it's just like he's non-existent. I don't see him making tackles. I don't see him doing anything. I saw one play where he was slipping and sliding again. And it's not like he has the excuse of a bad field. He's the only one out here falling down. You can't get your footing. Who is this guy, man? And I get it, he's young, whatever. Like, he was playing in a different snap count or less snap counts last year. I don't care, man. I truly don't give a fuck. That was the worst pass rush that I've ever seen from an Eagles team as long as I've been alive. And if you're older and you've been watching the Eagles longer, please inform me if there's been a worse pass rush than what we were subjected to last night. It was hard to watch and at times just straight embarrassing. How many times am I going to see Darnell Mooney or what's his face? It's number 34. I'm blanking on his name. I don't know how, because he was shredding that defense. I don't know how many times I watch these dudes just wide open, whether it's across the middle. Darnell Mooney is open on a crosser that doesn't even develop until 7 seconds after the ball snapped. Tells you all you need to know. How is Kirk Cousins sitting in the same spot? He's not extending the play. A play action I get because you can't stop the run. So I get it on a play action where this guy, fakes a handoff and he has all day to throw because everyone's too concerned with having to stop the run game, which even when they were overcommitting to the run, still was effective. That was like, there's so much blame to be thrown around. I get it. Saquon dropped a game when we shouldn't have been throwing the ball. You're NFL coaches. There's 1,000 people who I could pull off the street right now who know just run the ball. They have no timeouts. You have Saquon Barkley. And how many yards do we need to even get a first down? It was like 3 yards. What are we doing? What are we doing there? That was embarrassing. We got Nick Sirianni in the post game presser he gets asked essentially who's calling the plays. I get you getting pissed off about that question, but what do you want? What do you expect? I'm seeing the same type of just garbage, the same type of shit from last season, man. The same bullshit situational play calling. Where do I begin? I mean, as far as where am I going to pass blame? Who's to blame? I wanted so bad last night to be able to point my finger at just 1-2 people. There's so much blame to be passed around. It is. Where do you begin? That was fucking awful, man. That was some of the worst. That was the worst way I could have watched that game be in the final minute and a half of the game. However long was it? Minute 40. How do you blow a game there? How do you blow a game on the 6-yard line? How do you blow a game in that situation? I don't know how. I would have rather them pull a fan out of the stands and ask him to call a play in that situation. I would have rather that. And I get it, hindsight's always 20/20. The play was there. I mean, it was a shitty situational play call, but it was still there. Saquon Barkley, you gotta catch the ball. But here's the thing. I could sit here that play, that drop pass is gonna haunt me for the rest of the week. And I can sit here and just dwell on that and how easy of a play that could have been to seal the game. Without Saquon Barkley, though, where are we that game? Same thing with Hurts. You're going to get a lot of people, why is Hurt that ball that was picked off at the end of the game? We're going to get a lot. And don't get me wrong, rightfully so. I can't blame anyone for blaming any particular player. If you want to shift your focus on the Hurts intercept, fine. You're not going to get much of an argument from me, but I will say this. Without Hurts, without Barkley, where are we that game, man? I don't like the fact that Hurts has to lower his shoulders on, 6 defenders to extend drives. I don't like the fact that has to happen. But he was doing it, man. Without Hurts, Hurts shouldn't have been on the field again. He shouldn't even have been on the field in that situation. If you make a routine play call, excuse me, Hurts shouldn't have been on the field with 35 seconds, however much time was left. That shouldn't even have been a situation. Hurts should have been able to sit down on the bench after the last drive, which was a great drive for whatever that's worth. He should have just been able to sit down on the fucking bench and the game should have just been over. It was over. The offense shouldn't even have came back onto the field. What do we want to do, man? I swear every fucking week when's the last time we had a game where I can sit back and just be comfortable with where the game's going? When's the last time we could do that? I shouldn't have to be pulling my fucking hair out every fucking week. And in the past season and a half, it's embarrassing, man. I don't know where else can I place blame? My main priority, I guess if I'm gonna throw blame anywhere, it's that awful fucking pass rush or the coaching staff. You choose, man. But that's where most of my energy is directed to. I can't sit here and act like Hurts and Barkley was like the sole reason Nah, man. They shouldered the game. Don't get me wrong, Devontae Smith did his thing. Where is everyone else? Where's the rest of our receiver? We got Britton Covey. Why is Britton Covey? What happened to the weapons, man? And a part of me, I'm sitting here, it's like, does Hurts just not trust any other receiver on this team aside from A.J. Brown and Devontae? Does he just not trust anyone else? Or are these motherfuckers just not getting open? I'm leaning towards the latter. I don't know. I mean, and I'm not gonna be able to tell until I see any type of all 22. But something tells me these motherfuckers can't get open, or weren't open, or maybe the play design was just that bad throughout the game. I'm not gonna sit here and make excuses for Hurts. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, I shouldn't have thrown that pick. We definitely still had a chance to win the game. With all that being said, I would have liked for that pick not to have happened. We had another play, and again, man, like, I get it. It's 30 seconds. You got to make a play. Like, we got to get the ball down the field. Like, it's do or die. You might have to force a pass here or there. I just feel like that play right there, eat it. It is what it is. That's all I can say, though, about Hurts for that game. Pass rush is non-existent. I've never seen an Eagles team with a pass rush that non-existent. That is not Eagles football. That's where I don't know. That's kind of where I leave that. Vic Fangio is going to get a lot of blame, rightfully so. Rightfully so. I'm not going to sit here though and say we need to fire. I'm not going to do all that again. Fire defensive coordinator for who? I've already heard that being thrown around. Oh, we got to fire Vic Fangio. We got to get... Nah. We need a pass rush. More importantly. Now, Vic Fangio, if the whole game, the whole first half, I can't say... we had the first two drives defensively, they looked okay. Not the pass rush, but it's just because they would run the ball and we just get off the field on a third and down. Or a third down and like 4. I just feel like we caught breaks. Quignon had a good play, and we got off the... But other than that, man, it's like, if you see that there's no pass rush, why are we still sending 4 at the quarterback? Especially the last drive. I mean, let's say we run the ball, right? Instead of throwing it to Saquon. And we do run the clock out. I don't even think it would have mattered. That's how the defense was going to look. They got down the field before you could even look up. They were at the 10, 12-yard line. Would it have mattered if we ran the ball? If the defense is going to look that trash? That was different, man. Kirk Cousins just would drop back. That last drive the Falcons had, Kirk Cousins dropped back. He could have sat there for an extra 10 seconds. No one was getting to him. Why not send a blitz there? I don't know. Why not send a blitz? Because nothing good is coming from rushing 4. As far as that game goes. I'm sitting here, Thomas Booker. That's who stood out on our front 4. Front 5, excuse me. Whatever that was. Thomas Booker. Good for him, man. I hope you get more snaps moving forward, because God knows no one else is getting home. I haven't had to step out of my house and take a walk after a game in a long time. I didn't even do that during the Super Bowl in 2022. There was something about that game that was just soul crushing. And I think it's just because of what we went through last season, and it was all summarized in one game. That was fucking awful, man. It's hard to look forward to New Orleans after that. It's gonna be a long week. Long trip to Sunday. I'll tell you that much. That was awful. I physically feel sick even right now. I'm actually I've never had that happen before. I actually think that I'm coming down with like a flu, and and I feel like I gotta blame the birds. I think they actually physically got me sick. Jesus Christ. Let's start. Let's get into all right. Score is 0-0, right? 0-0 or 3-0. I can't remember. Either way, it's early in the game. We finally get a drive going. Giving the ball to Saquon. O-line looks great. Run the ball. Everything looks good. Get to the red zone. Here's my problem. I see Kenneth Gainwell get in. I don't mind Kenneth Gainwell getting into the game, especially if you just use Saquon Barkley X amount of times. Maybe he needs a breather. Maybe he needs the break. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with Gainwell coming in. What I'm not fine with is after you just ran the ball completely down their throat all the way there, you're gonna give it to Kenneth Gainwell twice in a row. No play action. Second we got into the red zone, no play action. What's up with that? Well, I don't know. What's up with that? That took all the momentum away from that drive. I'm not even mad if you want to shake in Kenneth Gainwell, run him the ball, and then play action, and maybe run it again with him. I don't even mind that. But to take Saquon off the field, you're just going to give it to Gainwell up the middle twice in a row? That's predictable. Run a play design. Fake the run, bro. Get the run opens up the pass. Anyone with a halfway competent football brain, right? It knows that I just ran the ball with Saquon down their throat. Run a play action. Get them on their heels. None of that. We're gonna put Kenneth Gainwell in and just give him the ball twice in a row. Not try to change. Not do anything different. That to me lost all the momentum on that drive, and then we end up going for it. Which again, not against going for even I get it. Again, hindsight's always 20/20. If we kick the field goal, take the points, it's gonna make a difference in hindsight. But I can't be mad at going for it. Fourth, and you should be able to convert that. Now, in my personal opinion, we shouldn't have been in 4th and 3 to begin with on that drive. But there you are. And if you can't convert it, it's like, okay, better get off the field as soon as possible. It felt like it just didn't matter. It felt like we were going to find a way to lose that game one way or another. That's why this is frustrating, I guess. You got the game in your hands. I don't know. The game was over. More or less. I'm just getting a migraine thinking about that game, man. Thinking about that game. Holy shit. I don't know, man. That was one of the worst games I've had to watch in a while. I mean, then again, I think back to that Seahawks game of last season. Practically the same shit. If you have one guy who can get home to the quarterback, it doesn't even have to be all game, just some halfway consistently. That game probably isn't even close. That was the only way you could lose that game. Aside from turning the ball over all game, which For the most part, they did pretty well. No turnovers, fine. Means nothing when they're gonna take 8 minutes off the clock running the ball and you can't stop. There's nothing you can do to stop the run. Point of attack. Second they ran the ball, everyone's going backwards on defense. That was pathetic, man. Felt like last year. And I think that's what's gonna bother people the most. Is that felt like last year. I don't know. I can sit here and be like, well, if A.J. Brown played, he didn't, and he's not going to next week either. That was awful, man. What are you gonna do? What's the game plan going into New Orleans? They're gonna run the ball. They look good too. They look legit right now. I'll tell you, you better be happy that the Cowboys, the Niners, you better be happy they lost. The Lions lost. All these teams that look good on paper, that's fine. They lost too. We should be 2-0. That was disgusting. You got Jason Kelce on the air. You got the best atmosphere you could possibly have for a home opener. Nick Foles is retiring. That's what you're coming out with? Good God. Good God. It's going to be a long week. Going to be a long fucking week, man. That drop pass is going to sit with me until Sunday. And probably longer. And I'll say this. Looking forward, you better win the next fucking 2 games. I heard someone say, was it ESP? I don't remember who it was, man. They got to split the net. Fuck splitting. You better win the next 2 fucking games. Or else at bye week, we're going to have an interim coach, most likely in Kellen Moore. You better win the next 2 fucking games. Ain't no split in the next 2. Split? Beat the fucking Saints. Beat the Falcons. It's the NFC South. I don't care how good they look in the first 2 weeks. You better win the next 2 games. The hell? Oh my God. This is going to be a sickening week to deal with some of this shit, man. Whether that's from opposing fans, the national media, or our own media. This shit's going to be hard to stomach. Split the next 2 games. Fuck that. This is what I was talking about throughout training camp. You're going to get adversity immediately as the season starts. Which is what this team needs. Maybe they needed to lose that game last night. I'll tell you what, man. They're either going to crumble the next 2 weeks. All I know is by that bye week, you'll know who you'll know who this team is and whether or not we're contenders or pretenders. You're going to know that by the bye week. You're going to get a feel for it by the bye week. Nick Sirianni, and don't get me wrong, he's awful with press conferences to begin with. He looked flustered. I can't rely on this guy, man. Not right now. That was pathetic. Oh my God. You got Jalen Hurts up there in his post game I could feel the sickness in his voice. He was sick, as he should be. This game was lost by situational play calling in a non-existent pass rush, and that's where it ends. The rest you can pick and choose. But let's be fucking real. This game was lost by the fucking pass rush in situational play calling. That's all that was. You do either of those two things, you win the game. You had Kirk Cousins out there looking good. You had him out there looking like he had ice in his veins. Pathetic, man. Pathetic. You got Kirk Cousins feeling real good after this week. I'm disgusted, to say the least. And I'm going to be disgusted. Sunday is going to tell me a lot. It's going to tell me a lot, man. If you get steamrolled by the Saints, I'm out. And when I say I'm out, that doesn't mean I'm giving up on the season. I'm out in the sense where I can't believe in you guys going forward as far as a playoff team to make a playoff run. You better go into New Orleans and play football like it's supposed to be fucking played. With legitimate play calling. When you have the game in your hands and the other team doesn't have timeouts and you're on their 6-yard line, you run the ball. Don't allow. Why do we do this? Why do we allow the opportunity to lose momentum like that? Why do we allow the opportunity for the other team to pull off a miracle? It feels like it's been that way, well, since 10-1 last season. It feels like every game, even when we have the game in our hands, we're going to do something to allow that other team to pull off a miracle. Do you want a chance? Here you go. Why is it like this every game? Can I get a comfortable win? Ever? Just some type of convincing win? Because they have the opportunities to do it. They have the roster to do it. The talent's there to do it. That leaves one more thing. The coaches to do it. I'm sick, man. I'm down bad. Not even gonna lie, I'm down bad this morning. Just like the rest of us. I'm still in shock. I'm still in shock from that drop pass. I mean, I'm still in shock by Kirk Cousins walking the ball down the field. I'm still in shock about a pass rush that has Josh Sweat, Bryce Huff, Jalen Carter, and Jordan Davis, and none of them can get home. Man, that Falcons O-line, man, they must be the truth. That must be the best O-line in football, because they certainly looked like it last night. Now, I'm going to give the Falcons O-line their credit. They deserve credit. But if you think for a second that's going to be an excuse as to why that pass rush looked the way it did, then you're mistaken. I don't know, man. I'm in awe. I'm in awe of how bad an Eagles pass rush could look. Jim Johnson's rolling over in his grave right now. Rest in peace. But he's rolling over in his grave right now. And that falls on Vic Fangio too. Am I saying I need Vic Fangio fired? No. Quite frankly, that scheme would have worked that whole game if anyone got home. Now here's my problem though. I've already said, if you know that 4 isn't getting to the quarterback, if you know that dropping back into a shell coverage, you're still not getting any type of pass rush, you have to blitz. I don't care if you get burned a couple times. You have to try and blitz. You have to try to force a turnover. And it may seem like it's a little thing to pick at, but if I have to go into next week and watch a motherfucker on the other team fumble the ball in our face and we can't get the fumble, I'm going to flip a fucking table. I get sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way, but if Bijan Robinson is handing the ball to you, Zach Bond, I expect someone to get the ball. Again, I'm not even going to sit here and just continue to pick at that. It's just one thing that's been pissing me the fuck off. I'm tired of teams getting bailed out with their turnovers. Lack thereof. Holy shit. You know how I brought that up, because there's just so many other things to be mad at. Good God, man. What are we gonna do, man? I don't know. I gotta cool down. This video is not for me cooling down. I'm gonna have to look at. I'll try. I'm gonna do everything I can to try and find some type of silver lining, some type of positive. Out of the only thing that I can say right now is, well, at least it's week 2. That could be bad or good. Because I don't know if this team is the type of team that can turn it around when shit gets fucking tough. Because I haven't seen that yet. I don't know, man. Because what's crazy to me is when we were playing the Packers in Brazil, we were getting to the quarterback more. Whether it be from blitzing, maybe interior pass rush. At least there was some type of heat on Jordan Love. Both teams were playing the shell coverage this whole game. The only difference is that the Falcons, they didn't have to really throw the ball for the first half. In fact, throughout most of the game, they didn't even have to really throw the ball. And when they did throw the ball, you had Darnell Mooney running across the field. Again, a play that probably could take 7 seconds to develop. He's getting the ball on the opposite end of the field, just sitting in a wide open pocket in the zone. The only way that can happen is if the quarterback has that much time to let that happen. Or if you have a mobile quarterback and he's rolling left or right with the play and the guy running the crosser. And unfortunately, it's not that, because a mobile quarterback is something that I can understand. You got Kirk Cousins not having to move. He didn't even need legs. Could have just put a chair down in the backfield. He could have sat there and threw the ball. There's just literally there's no pass rush. There was no pressure, which is the only thing you need to beat Kirk Cousins is pressure. At that point, I abandoned the shell coverage. This is where I blame Vic Fangio. At that point, I abandoned the shell coverage. Fuck shell coverage. I need to get this guy on his ass. Whether that's calling a zero blitz And sure, Darnell Mooney burned us on the first blitz of the fucking game that came in what? This late second? I don't remember when that was. But of course, it gets burned. And I'm like, well, we're not going to see that again. I don't care, man. I'm sending more blitzes. Especially Vic Fangio, who's someone who can disguise a fucking blitz. I'd rather that. Why are we... That shell coverage is fine when guys are getting home. I got no problem with it. That's fine if Bryce Huff isn't fucking trash. That's fine if Josh Sweat can bend around the corner. That's fine if Jalen Carter is Jalen Carter. Why is Thomas Booker the only guy that I can give any type of credit to on that line? Thomas Booker should not be in charge of that. Thomas Booker is a rotational guy at most. Hey, maybe not anymore. Thomas Booker was playing like he wanted something. Bryce Huff didn't even look like a football player. Another goose egg on the stat line. Goose eggs. A basket of eggs in the fucking stat line for Bryce Huff. Done defending. I've defended that for 1 week, not anymore. Guess it wasn't the field in Brazil. I guess it wasn't. Can't use that as an excuse. Excuse me for having the slightest bit of faith in guys who are supposed to have talent getting onto a field. You can't touch Kirk Cousins once. Kudos to the Falcons O-line. Jesus Christ. That was embarrassing. We shouldn't need these other teams to lose to find some type of hope or silver lining. We shouldn't need... That's never been who we are. Yeah, I love it when the Cowboys lose. Of course. Yeah, it's nice when the Niners lose. Of course. Yeah, it's nice when the Lions are losing. Cool. Not that that's a team that we should even... That's not who we are, man. It shouldn't matter if they're winning or losing. We should just be winning. We should be dominating teams on all fronts. They look pathetic, man. Let me get to C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I could sit here and be like, well, that's the second week. He blew a coverage or two. I get it. But the thing with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, he's gonna get burnt, and he's also on 4th and 1 going to stick his fucking head in the fucking gap and stonewall the running back. That should have won the game. And I'm supposed to sit here and be like, C.J. Gardner-Johnson's trash? It's the same thing that goes with Saquon, that goes with Hurts. Yeah, they had a couple bad plays that cost them. I'm not going to fucking sit here and act like C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Yeah, give him blame. Yeah, he needs to be better in coverage. That's where it ends. You can't blow a coverage here. That hurt us. Of course, not gonna make excuses for those blown coverages. Sure, he also won us the game. Should have won us the game. Yeah, how long? Go back to last season. You're begging for a DB to come down and stick his fucking nose in the hole and make a stop like that. his helmet's flying off. You're begging for a DB like that last season. And I'm supposed to sit here and act like CJ Gardner-Johnson's the problem? He's not. He made a play that should have won us the game. Saquon Barkley was making plays that should have won us the game. Granted, that drop pass more or less lost us the game. But it's like, where are we without him? He's going to get it right. That's not a sustainable problem, or that's not a problem I see like moving forward. Oh, we got to worry about Saquon Barkley dropping a pass in a clutch situation. I'm not worried about that going forward. I'm not worried about CJ Gardner-Johnson going forward. I'm not. We know the type of player he is. He's a guy that's going to go full tilt on whatever he thinks is the right play, even when it's the wrong play. He's that kind of guy, which is a kind of guy we need on this defense, because imagine where we'd be without that type of guy. We saw it last year. Spoiler alert. That's where I'm at. I'm sitting here and am I pissed that Saquon dropped the ball? I'm just as pissed as the rest of you. That's not something I'm worried about going forward. Am I pissed about Jalen Hurts' interception with 30 seconds left trying to just scrape a field goal in the last seconds? Yeah, I'm pissed about it. Yeah, I wish the throw was better. It's a hard throw to make with the guy bearing down on you. But again, I'm not giving him that excuse. He's got to make the play. Am I worried about that going forward? No. That's going to be a national. Leave that to the national media. I'm not worried about Hurts. I'm sorry, I'm not. I know that's going to be the narrative. Should we be worried about Jalen Hurts? I'm not. That's not our problem. Jalen Hurts really isn't our problem. Regardless of the interception, Jalen Hurts was keeping us in the game. I'm not worried about him going forward. I'm sorry, even if I know a lot of people want us to be worried about Jalen Hurts. I'm just not. Just not. He's a gamer, and he showed it. Again, he shows that pretty much every week. Yeah, last season, towards the end of the season, you could definitely tell he lost the fight that he typically has. I saw a lot of that fight these past 2 weeks. Not worried about Hurts. I know what kind of player Hurts is. I don't know if you do. He's not a 300-yard passer. I don't know why we want him and need him to be. He's just not. He's going to throw for in the high hundreds, low 200s, and maybe rush for 50 to 80 yards. Getting you about 200 whatever yards in total offense, and he's going to make plays that are going to help you win the game. He'll make a mistake here and there, probably, because he likes to try to extend plays. He likes to try and make a play. I don't love that all the time. Pisses me off sometimes. He wants to win. I don't know, man. Not worried about Saquon going forward. Really not worried about Hurts going forward. I guess if I'm going to be worried about anything with Hurts is the chemistry with the coaches, because that's something that's got to be that's something that can't be overlooked. I could tell that loss affected them just as much, if not more, than it affects us. Which is what I want. It'd be scarier if they came on that post-game presser acting like it was all good. You could see that they knew that was not all good. Take that for what it's worth. That was a fucking joke. Defense got exposed. More so the pass rush again. Doesn't mean the linebacker play was to die for. Doesn't mean the DB play was to die for. But let's be real, a halfway decent pass rush, probably you don't even notice. Or if anything, elevates the play of the backfield. Defensive backfield, excuse me. Like, you can't, I don't know. You can't go through the season like we did last year. Close game every week. In what's wild, sure, that game had me on the edge of my seat. But it's getting to the point where all these like close games, it's just like I don't even want to put all this. It's every week for the last season and a half. Not season and a half. I guess all of last season and these 2 games. I'm like becoming numb. I'm like actually becoming numb to these close games. It's just, it isn't. The fans deserve better. That's all. I mean, trying to get Hassan Reddick back right now doesn't even sound that crazy anymore. Maybe take a cap hit. Maybe lose some money. Eat an L salary-wise. Might have to. That's where I'm at right now. I don't know if I can bear to watch Bryce Huff. If that's what Bryce Huff's gonna be, I can't watch that. Be honest with yourself. Can you watch that the rest of the season? You're gonna want to sit back, clenching your jaw every defensive possession. Fuck, man. What else is there to say? What else is there to say? I can keep. This is more just for me. This right here. This is just me. I need to get it out. I had to go for a walk last night because I'm not trying to fuck. I'm not trying to. You know, my girl ends up falling asleep halfway through the game. I wish I had that in my body. I'll tell you that much. She had to wake up early. It's like, man, it's like I don't even got it in my bones. Till I'm trying to wake her up in the middle of the night. I had to step out, clear my head. That loss has me down bad. The only upside is I can't even call it an upside. The only bit of hope I have left after that is that it's early in the season. Here's how I'll summarize it, at least as far as what I expect going forward. Vic Fangio, the shell defense. I don't love it. I don't hate it either, especially because it does limit big plays unless someone blows a coverage. Put that on CJ if you want. But I personally don't hate the shell defense that I've been seeing. But you can't have that be the only, like, you can't rely on that the whole game if your pass rush isn't getting home. You're gonna have to disguise some blitzes, take some gambles. I feel like a broken record. I feel like this is every fucking season. You're gonna have to take some gambles. You're gonna have to send a blitz, whether you disguise it or not. Especially with Derek Carr coming up. Jesus Christ. I actually have to be worried about Derek Carr. How about that? What else? Situational play calling. Offensively, more so. Maybe take the points next time we get that drive and it's fourth down, maybe just take the points. Especially because you're going to have to work with your defense. Offense and defense, they have to work in sync with each other. And if your defense is going to play shell coverage to limit big plays and try and keep the score relatively low, maybe just take the fucking points going forward. No more going for it first quarter, first to third drive, and you don't get it after you get in their red zone. Maybe just, kick the field goal. What else? You don't got A.J. Brown next week, maybe even the week after. Better figure it out. Whether that's Jalen Hurts having to trust his receivers more, that not named Devontae Smith. Got to give Britton Covey his love. At least he showed up. He didn't do anything to piss you off. If anything, he just kind of helped a little bit here and there. That's sad that I have to even highlight that as a point of this is giving him his flowers. But congratulations, Britton Covey. Came a long way to get to where he was in that game. He was getting targeted, which tells you something. Tells you something about Jahan Dotson. Maybe he's just not getting open. Maybe it's the play calling not getting him open. Because really, if you're talking about Britton Covey, he pretty much just made the most out of bubble screens, kind of like how they tried to do with Jahan Dotson. And then he had a catch for intermediate route or whatever, short route, whatever, maybe once or twice throughout the game. So, congratulations, Britton Covey. Maybe that's something you could look into. Maybe get Paris Campbell involved. I don't know if he even saw the field. Maybe get him involved. Johnny Wilson, I'm out on. He needs to develop more. That holding call, can't have that. I don't know. I can see them trying, and I get it. He's a big target for the red zone, but I can also see them also trying to force it to him in that rollout where he came that deep zig back to the outside of the pylon with Jalen Hurts rolling left. He's just not agile enough for that play. And by the time the ball was thrown to him, it's he was never really open to begin with, but it was just too late. Not that he was ever open again. So it's I get Jalen Hurts waiting, but with him, you're going to have to wait. Maybe he's a back shoulder fade guy. He's not going to run these routes like that. He's not. You just send him and throw it up to him. He's not gonna beat anyone with route running. That's what I've gathered about Johnny Wilson. Maybe he could be good in blocking downfield, but if he's gonna hold like that, maybe he can't be. I don't know. Maybe it was just one mistake, and try him again. But I don't think he should be running routes like that and having to rely on waiting for him to break out of that route. It's going to take too long to develop. And I hate it. I didn't like seeing that. I won't say I hated it, but I didn't like it. I say let's get Paris Campbell into the mix. Not saying that I'm giving up on Jahan Dotson, but that this was his game. He needed to break out. Well, not break out, but he at least needed to do anything. Just above average, or even in this case, average would have helped. What else? I'm sure I'm forgetting something. Would like to see Goddard involved a little bit more going forward. This is just without A.J. Brown, while he's out. Get Calcaterra doesn't even look that bad. Maybe get him and Goddard going a little bit more. I feel like they got away from that. I don't know if the defense just made an adjustment. I get that they were kind of playing their own type of shell coverage in a way. But make use of those tight ends. Calcaterra doesn't look bad. He's made the most of the opportunities he's been given, which it hasn't been many, but it's more than I can say about other guys. I don't know, man. I'm trying not. I don't blame anyone for overreacting. I know I don't know if I'm overreacting, but I don't even think anything could be an overreaction after that game. I think it's all warranted. Wherever your frustrations or you want to be mad at Hurts for the pick, I'm not going to argue with you. You want to place blame on Barkley for dropping that ball and like that's the reason why we lost. I won't blame you. Play calling, I can't blame it. Literally anything, you name it, man. I don't blame you. Pass rush, definitely won't blame you. But that's where we're at. I don't know, man. Hopefully we can get better. It's been an hour of me just venting, ranting, whatever. Needed to get it out so I can kind of move past it and actually start to dissect things a little bit more and try and come to find a middle ground as to where I need to be feeling, because it is week 2. There is a lot of the season left, but I'd be lying too if that game didn't raise any red flags. Look at me, man. This is a stressed out dude, man. I actually feel nauseous. I feel a migraine coming on. I think I might have the flu. I don't fucking know, man. That game made me sick. And yeah. Go Birds.
Yeah, reporting live from the underworld. Coming from a place that's never been unearthed. How much is your soul? Tell me what it's worth. Do you put your pride or money first?